Hi girls. All right, I know I've been kind of absent for a couple of days, but that is because I had company in from out of town and I was super busy, and I'm sorry, I kind of abandoned you for a couple of days. But you don't want to see my face every day anyways, so it's probably good that I gave you a little break. So I'm gonna make Kuba Hammouth today, and it's super easy. I had somebody ask me to make it. My friend Cindis really wanted to come and make it with me, but she's really super busy right now, and I need to make some for the freezer. I'm making them today simply so that I can freeze them and use them later on, so I'm not making the stew. The stew is beyond easy. This is the most complicated part, and this is even like totally easy. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So right now we're getting ready to make the filling. And you know, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but like I always laugh to myself because like Chaldean food, a lot of the filling, it's like Taco Bell. You go and you get like that meat filling, and it's the same meat filling that's in every single thing, whether it's a burrito, a taco, a quesadilla. It's the same meat with a different shell. Same thing, okay? So it's kind of the same recipe I use when I make potato chop, but it's so delicious. Like just the shell makes it taste different, right? So I'm gonna make the filling, and I'm gonna need a pound of ground chuck, or you can use like thin chunks of meat if you prefer it not to be ground. You can do that. I like the ground because it cooks nice and it's not tough, and I think it's just easier, my opinion. Totally my opinion. You do not have to make it the same way, but you've been asking me how I make it, so this is how I make it, okay? I have about 3 tablespoons of parsley chopped up on my cutting board. I have a whole white onion. You're gonna need at least 6 cloves of garlic, but of course I go a little bit overboard. I've peeled the garlic. We're gonna chop that up. And I'm gonna start with the onion. I have a pan that has some oil in the bottom. You're gonna need some allspice, because allspice is the star of the show here, okay? So I'm gonna cut up the onion. You don't have to dice them too small. Just, you know, give them a rough chop. They're gonna be mixed up in with that meat. Here we go. So I'm sorry about that falafel video, because I was so mad, you guys. I was so angry because I took all that work, and you know, it's not easy for me to make the videos because I'm technologically challenged. So every time I do something with social media or with a camera or something, I'm like, you know, please let it turn out, because I'm terrible. So the falafel video, when I turned the camera sideways to film, it didn't flip, and I didn't realize, so it was straight up and down. And Robbie's like, what did you do? I don't know. I don't know what I did. So anyways, here we go. Finished chop my onion. So I double checked, and I know that this is right, okay? So I'm just gonna chop up the onion, small, and right away, I'm gonna get that flame going, kind of medium-high heat, because you're gonna saute the onion and the garlic until the onion's translucent. So right away, I put my onion in the pan, just to kind of get it going. Break it up with your hand, there. So easy, you guys. It's ridiculous. I used to buy these, and you know, I would get, and they were delicious. I don't know the lady that made them. I think her name was Juliet, and they were so amazing. And you would get a bag about that big, you know, maybe 30 kubas in there. But I like them so much that I was buying all the time, and that can get super expensive. So you might as well make your own. If you can do it, make your own. You know, learn how to make it. I taught myself how to make this. And the first time I ever made it, I actually made it with barley. And the very first time, this has been about 10 years ago, and I put it in the water, and I was so proud of myself. Like, I made the kubas and everything, and it just disintegrated. And I had a big bowl of like beef and barley soup. It was a nightmare. It was terrible. And so I just kept trying, and now I got it. So my onion's in here. Give it a good stir. Get it coated in that oil. And you want to cook your onions for a few minutes till they start to become fragrant and translucent. So while they're doing that, we're going to chop up our garlic. And you want to chop the garlic like a little bit finer. You don't want big, huge chunks, but, you know, small enough where it's just minced. I give it like a slight chop first. So my company left today, and things are sort of back to normal for me. Went and worked out with the kids today at the park. It's been super beautiful out today. And now I'm home and I'm getting ready. I'm gonna barbecue tonight. I'm gonna make tikka and kebab, but I wanted to make this to throw in the freezer so that the next time I want some, it's ready. I made like 3 bags and I've used all of them. The other mistake that you can make when you're first learning how to do these is when you make the filling. One, you have to make sure that you do it right, otherwise it's going to fall apart in the stew. And the other thing is you don't want to make the outer shell too thick. It's kind of like potato chop. You don't want the outer shell too thick. My girls even make these with me. My girls are really good at helping me make these, so maybe I'll call them down when it's time to assemble them and let them help. All right, so the garlic has a rough chop to it. Before I put the garlic in, I like to put my ground beef in. So I'm going to grab some ground. I have some here, but that's for the outside. And I already have one that's thawed that I was waiting to use. This is about a pound. I'm going to add just a skinch more to it. Okay. You notice I don't have gloves on at the moment, but I will when I assemble them. My hands are clean, and I normally don't touch the meat, but right now it's okay. So I'm just going to add just the tiniest bit more to this, maybe. So I have just over a pound in there. But if all you have is a pound, you're good. I'm going to wash my hands really quick. And now I'm going to stir the meat. Nothing smells as good as onion when it's cooking with garlic and everything. Oh my gosh. Now, I have a great market by me. You know, I of course have Ninawa Market, which is an amazing little market. It's very convenient. It's right up the street. When I want to get the tikka meat and the kebab meat, I go to 15 in Ryan to Dream Market, and they have amazing selection of fresh meat, and they'll butcher it for you right there, so you know it's super fresh. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a mix. And what we're going to do now, we're going to add our garlic right to the meat mixture. And we're going to add some salt. Now, you know I don't measure, okay? But so basically like maybe a teaspoon of salt. I just go back and forth a few times. There we go. That looks like plenty. And I'll give it a taste. Like once I get it all browned and everything, I'll give it a taste. And I'll see, are my spices how I like them? Is enough salt? If not, I just adjust it. And now we're going to add some pepper. A few shakes of pepper. I slept horrible last night. Like I literally slept so bad last night that I don't even know how I'm standing on my 2 feet right now and not laying down and taking a nap. Because truly, truly, today I am exhausted, for real. Like I know I say it all the time, but today it's like I'm really tired. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna mix in the salt, pepper, garlic, pound of ground chuck. I have a little over a pound. The onion. And now we're gonna add our allspice. And I would start with like a tablespoon of the allspice. That should be pretty good. And then like I said at the end, you can always go back and taste it. It's very simple. I mean, it's not very complex. The filling has very simple flavors, but once you surround it with the shell, it's amazing. And you make the stew to go with it, forget about it. So I have a good amount. I'm gonna put a teaspoon of allspice in there. I'm going to set this aside because at the end I'm going to taste it. If I think it needs a little bit more, you can add more if you like it. Now this is what the allspice looks like. This is ground allspice. Alright, I got this one at Ninawa Market. You can get it at any Arabic market. Here we go. Oh man, you know me and the spices, digging this. It smells so good, you guys. Same thing I basically do for potato chop, or just about, okay, the filling. Super simple recipe, and the flavors are just insanely good. I know there's a few other recipes people have been asking me to make. I've gotten a lot of messages for cream caramel. I've gotten some messages for creme brulee. I've gotten some for, what other one did they ask me to make? And I can't remember. I'll remember. But I'm trying like little by little. Oh, I know, the lamb shank. So I'm getting there, okay? Give me some time. All right, so you're just basically gonna keep browning this until the meat is all cooked through. And I'm gonna chop up this parsley. Like I said, I have about 3 tablespoons of parsley. You can adjust it like more or less if you want a little bit more or you want a little bit less, whatever you want to do. I love the taste of the fresh parsley, so I add 3 tablespoons. Just about 3 tablespoons. Give it a good rough chop. And, you know, Mother's Day is coming up. And I don't know if Robbie's going to watch this, but I would love some new cookware. Hint, hint. Holy cow. I mean, my pots are as old as I am. I mean, that's like ancient. Okay. Like, how nice would it be to have like a matching set of cookware? I have all kinds of mishmash stuff, and I don't know how that happened, because I used to have nice pots. Okay, in goes the parsley. Right there. Get that out of the way. Now just mix it in. Oh, it smells really good. I think the spice is going to be good, but we're going to check it still. And this is really lean. Normally with ground chuck, you get a lot of fat in the bottom. I'm not seeing a whole lot of fat in the bottom of this pan, which is good. If you cook it up and you're seeing like a layer of grease in the bottom, be sure that you drain the grease out of the meat. Get it as drained as you can, because when you go to make the kubas, if that meat is greasy, it's going to destroy it. Okay, so just drain as much off as you can and allow it to cool the entire way so that you can actually touch it where it's cool. You don't want to try to assemble the kubas when the meat is hot. So this is it, guys. Look at that. How easy was that? 5 minutes to throw your filling together. It takes a few minutes just to cook it up. It's really already browned. There's still a little tiny bit of pinkness in some pieces, so I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to taste it. Tastes good to me. Tastes really good. I'm happy with it. I'm not going to add anything else. It's salty enough. It has enough pepper. And for me, 1 tablespoon of the allspice per 1 pound was perfect. I'm going to let it finish. If there's any grease, all I'm going to do is drain it off. I'm going to let it cool. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how we're going to make the shell. All right, ladies, so this is the filling part, or I'm sorry, this is the shell part that we're going to make now. We're going to make the outside part that you put around the filling, okay? The shell. So I have to say, I found this, where did I find this recipe? I found it, I think, on Pinterest one time, and it's been a long time, and I believe it was 2 sisters, and I don't know, I apologize in case anybody knows them. It was 2 sisters that like write a cookbook, and I don't know if it's the Mid-Eastern chef people or not, but it was 2 sisters recipe, and I followed this recipe, and it's perfect. So if this is not my recipe, I can't take credit for the recipe itself. I'm just showing you how I make it and how I follow their instructions, okay? So this is not my recipe, okay? But it's fantastic just the same. In here, there's a pound of lean ground chuck in this bowl, 1 pound of this. Now you're gonna need 3 cups of cream of rice. And I'm gonna make a suggestion to all of you, and I'm telling you this because I learned the hard way. When I was doing this, when I was first doing it, I would take my cream of rice, and you're gonna need the cream of wheat too. The cream of wheat, you can tell it's a little bit, I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but this is a little bit more beige in color, and this is really white and fine. But here's a little hint. When you go to store these, do not store them in like a cupboard. I store them in the freezer, because if you store these in the cupboard and it gets warm, or you store them for a long time, believe me when I tell you, when you go in to use them, there will be bugs in them. Okay, I don't know how these bugs appear. I don't know what happens. It ferments, whatever. I always keep them in the freezer, and I've never had a problem. And I can keep them for a while with no problem. Don't store them in a cupboard. Store them in the freezer. So you're going to need 1 pound of the lean ground chuck. That's what I use. You're going to need 3 cups of the cream of rice, which is the lighter of the 2. Okay, the cream of rice. You're going to need 3 cups of that. And so what's going to happen when you do this, I just got it all over it. It's going to be like a grainy, as they describe it, like a grainy Play-Doh. And you'll be able to mash it together. Okay, here we go. Come on. I should have had it measured out. It sure would have been a lot easier, and I wouldn't be getting it all over the place. Okay, one more, guys. One more of the cream of rice. A little bit. All right, that's done. Dump that on in there. Man, you guys, I've got it everywhere. The floor, the counter, everywhere. Okay. And now 1 cup of the cream of wheat. The stew part is super easy to make. If you've never made that, it's like super duper easy. But the key is, you know, when your kubas have to be cold and you let the stew boil and then put the kuba in. Otherwise, you're going to be spooning out kuba that falls apart on you. It's always better to make sure it's cold. At least in my experience. Maybe somebody else knows better than me. 1 cup of the cream of wheat in there. Set that aside, set that aside. You're going to need a teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. Just regular table salt. 1 teaspoon of that. And you're going to need a teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda, that same thing can happen. You have to be careful on how you store your stuff. You don't want like little bugs. Okay, always check it before you use it. And then you're going to add to this, you're going to add 1.5 cups of ice cold water. So I always take my measuring thing and I put a couple ice cubes in the bottom. Even though my water is cold, I want to let it set and get really, really cold. And this is going to make it much easier to work with. So once I mix the dough together, what I do, 1.5 cups. Once I mix the dough together, I put it in the fridge and kind of let it chill. My meat's over there cooling down. I let that get completely cool. Once I make this dough, I place it in the fridge until I'm absolutely ready to work with it and make the kubas. And it makes it so much easier to work with. And then if you don't have gloves on and you're using your hands, you should probably have a bowl of cold water next to you to dip your hands in to keep the dough from sticking. So all I do is like give this just 1 second to kind of chill. And I'm just gonna wipe this off really quick since I've made a huge mess here. Let's move this over. Here we go. Yeah, this recipe, honestly, I was so grateful when I was learning how to do it. And I had been searching and searching for a recipe, and I must have tried 100 of them, and you know, no luck. And being American, it was really hard for me, and I didn't, I'm sure my mother-in-law would have taught me, but she bought hers too for a long time, and you know, we just would buy them. So I was like, no way, I'm gonna learn how to do this if it kills me, and I'm gonna make them. So, you know, a few trial and errors, a few different recipes, and I promise you this is the best one I've ever found. Maybe your nana or your mama makes it and you like that, then go with that, okay? Okay, so now I'm gonna add this ice water. I'm just gonna grab these ice cubes and get rid of them. 1.5 cups of cold, cold water. In it goes. And now all you do is mix it all together. And it's gonna feel like Play-Doh, like gritty Play-Doh. And I'll show you the consistency of it. And you have to knead it for a little bit to get it all mixed in there together. And once you do that, and the meat's cool, then you can set out your wax paper and stuff and start assembling your kubas. And it gets this really pretty color to it. It's like a pinky color almost from the meat. If you have like a dough mixer or something, I think you can use that to make the kubas. It would probably go a lot faster than if you're like me and you have to do it by hand. But I don't mind it. I don't mind doing it by hand. There we go. How many of you tried the falafel recipe? There was a few messages I got. And people seem to like them okay. I don't know if you had any trouble with them, or I'd love to hear what you thought of it. This is so easy. It's going to be mind-blowing and game-changing, and you're not going to buy them. You're going to make them. Well, maybe you'll make them. Like if you have a weekend and you're not doing anything, why not? You know, it's always nice to know where your food comes from, like whose hands have been in your food, you know what I mean? And make it yourself. And plus, why is Chaldean food such like a good arm workout. Like seriously, honestly. I already worked out today and I'm a little bit tired right now. Let me take a break. Okay, back at it. Okay, here we go. Where are my kids when I need them? Where are the muscles, right? And I just want to make sure it's mixed really, really good. So like, 5 minutes or so to mix up the dough. And then you're gonna know, let me show you. It's not sticking to my hands. It's really good. I think this is gonna be great. Now look I wanna show you one thing. So let's say I was gonna go in and make the kubas. Do you see this right here? I want you to see kind of what it looks like. Okay, it's a really good consistency. Now let's say I make it flat and the edges stay together. That's gonna tell me I'm doing it just like I do potato chop. Put my thumbs in the middle and kind of work it and make a circle. You see how I'm making a little cup? All right, so I make my little cup. And can you see that these edges are really staying together pretty nicely? You know what that's telling me? It's telling me that this is good kuba dough and I'm good to go. I don't have to add any more water. I don't have to do anything. It's good. So, well, there you are. Where were you when I needed your muscles? Here they come now. A day late and a dollar short. Okay, so you can see how it's staying together. That's perfect. Now if I had my meat, I could just put it in there and make my little kuba. So that's it. That's it. This is the shell. The filling took 5 minutes. You're ready to go. So, just finish mixing it really good. I think mine's not bad. Give it a couple more little dough mixers there. There we go. And then I'm gonna chill it, and I'll come back, and I'm gonna show you how I make them. It's super simple, and then you just freeze them in a Ziploc. You can layer them on a tray, you can put them in a Ziploc, whatever. And then when you're ready to do it, pull them out and use them. So that's it, ladies. I'm gonna go chill this. I'll be back to show you how to put it together, okay? Okay, now we are ready to assemble the kuba. I have my mixture out of the fridge. This is the shell. It's nice and cool to the touch. I have my meat filling that is also very cool to the touch. That's super, super important, all right? A little teaspoon there, because you're only gonna need about a teaspoon of meat for each one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a nice little size of the filling, maybe like that big, okay? Can you see that? Maybe like the size of a ping pong ball. And let me show you what I'm gonna do. See that? I'm gonna push my thumbs in the middle and kind of work around in a circle. Push my thumbs and push out onto that so I make like a little cup. And I guess it's gonna depend on how big you want each one. I make them kind of like a medium size. This is really good filling. It's really staying together nicely. So I make like this little dome, like a little cup that will hold the meat. And you don't want the shell too thick, okay? So you don't want to use a lot of filling. If it's breaking apart on you, you probably need to add like a little bit more water to it. Little by little, you don't want to overdo it. I wish I had the recipe to tag you in it. I'll have to look for it. But anyways, I have like this little cup, and I'm gonna take a teaspoon of the filling and just put it right in the center. And I always do just like a teaspoon and a little bit more, right? I don't wanna overstuff it. I don't wanna overstuff it. I don't know if, let me get closer. I don't wanna overstuff it, okay? And now, same like I did with the potato chop, I push my thumb in the middle and I kind of pull up on the sides of the dough and seal it together. Just push and pull up on the dough and pinch it together, like that. You might need a bowl of water handy to keep your hands from sticking to it if you're not using gloves. I never have a problem when I use gloves. Okay, so now, see how I have the meat sealed inside? And now I'm just gonna make sure there's no holes, push that dough together with my thumb, spin it, I always like kind of spin it around my hand like that, and push down, shape them into nice little circles. They're beautiful. Perfect little size circle. And so the way that I do it, you're gonna end up with a nice size kuba, just like that. Just like that. Can you see? And it's not too thick, just like so. And then I have a piece of saran wrap on my counter that I've sprayed with cooking spray, because you really don't want to pack them in a Ziploc bag layer by layer, because if you go to take them out and you pull them apart, you're going to break them. So just layer them in a single layer on your plastic wrap. So let's do one more so you can see. Okay, super, super easy. Okay, so about a ping pong ball size. I always roll it into a ball just because it's easier for me to do it that way. And you want to make sure, okay, that you get them all about the same size so that they cook evenly in the stew. I wasn't gonna make the stew, but Sophie loves kubas. She loves it. And we are grilling. Maybe I'll make like a little tiny pot just so that I can show you. Like with the stew, you can pretty much put like anything. You could put turnips and like some kale or spinach. You could just put green pepper and onion. You can put kind of whatever you like in there with it. I usually do like green pepper and onion. You put your majun in there. Okay, so here's the ball. I'm gonna take it, push my thumbs in, and move it around in a circle, just so it forms like a nice little cup. I hope you guys can see this. Nice little cup. For you guys who have never made it, please try it. I promise you, once you get the hang of it, it's not bad. It's time consuming. I will stand here for the next 2 hours making kuba, but you know what? I'll have 3 bags of it in the freezer to use, and it's great. It's a quick meal to go to, right? So you can see this is forming like a nice little cup. Do you see how nice that is? Let me see it from the side. Nice little cup. So make it sure that it's thin enough that when you fold it over, the shell's not going to be too thick on the outside. You can kind of feel it with your thumbs how thin you're getting it. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, 1.5 teaspoons. That's what I do. You might only be able to do a teaspoon. That's up to you, whatever you do. I do like 1.5 teaspoons. Put it in there, push down with my thumb on the filling and kind of squeeze the dough together around it, just like we did with that potato chop. This is the part that kind of takes practice. This is the part that sort of you got to work on to perfect, right? I didn't do it good the first time I did it. I told you it was terrible. It fell apart. It was awful, awful, awful. But just keep at it. If I can do it, you can do it. I promise you, it's not hard. Not hard. And the recipe is amazing. I really would like to hug both of those women that wrote that recipe and tell them how much I appreciate that, because when you're trying to learn, it's really hard. So that's all I hope I do. While you watching me, I hope that you can learn something and try it. At least try it. And maybe you'll give me a better tip to use, and I'll give you a tip to use, and we can all learn together. And that's what's so beautiful about this community of women. We can help each other. You know, I might not know how to do something right, and you correct me. I remember one time when I made the maklubi, I was so proud of myself. I thought I did a damn good job, and it came out beautiful, and the dome, it was gorgeous. And I don't remember who it was. A girl texted me and said, yeah, it's nice, but we don't ever make it with yellow rice. Oh, I was like, oh my God, it was so deflated. Like, I thought I did good. I was like, okay, well, no problem. Now I know. But I learned, see? Now I know you don't make it with yellow rice, you make it with red rice. Problem solved. Okay, here we go, look. Perfect, perfect little kuba. Look at that, she's pretty. That's it, that's kuba. I'm gonna go make about 7,000 more of these things, one for each member of this group. And then I'll show you how I freeze them and how I layer them before I fold the saran wrap over, and then I just put them in a Ziploc bag so they're in one single layer. I don't like to stack them on top of each other. And that's it, that's kuba. How easy is that? Okay, well, I'll come back and I'll show you the stew, I guess, so that you know how to do that, at least my way, and then you can change it up however you want. And that's it. That was simple, huh? Super duper easy. I'm gonna go finish the rest of these and I'll be back. All right, now I'm back to show you how to make the stew. At least this is the way I'm gonna do it today. It's super simple, and you're gonna allow it to come to a boil before you drop your kuba in. Typically, you're gonna pull that kuba out of the freezer and it's gonna be frozen, and that's fine. When it starts to boil, you can just drop it all into the boiling water, and you give it like a half an hour, and it cooks through, and it's delicious. I let it cook a little bit low and slow as long as possible because I like the flavors. So like I said, you can use any veggies you want. I'm gonna use some onion and peppers and a little tiny bit of eggplant I have cut up. I have some oil in the bottom of the pan. Robbie just got home, and so he's hungry and tired both. So I'm gonna put the onion in, and so he'll probably eat this and take a little nap. All right, put the onion in and let it kind of get a little bit translucent, like how we let it cook through. Put a little bit of salt, whatever seasoning you like, a little bit of salt in there. I'm gonna add the peppers. I just chop them up into big chunks. These are for something different. Chop them up into big chunks and kind of let them get going. And a little bit of eggplant. Don't need a lot. I'm only gonna put a few in there. And I salted the eggplant before to draw out that bitterness, and then rinsed them and patted them dry before I put them in here. So just let that kind of get going and stir it around, get it covered in that oil, and let it start to cook up. And then the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add 4 cups of water. But you have to remember your vegetables are gonna secrete like liquid. They're gonna secrete water. So you're gonna have only 4 cups of water is all you need. And then I add 2 cans of the tomato paste to the stew with the water, and I just let it get going and boiling. Little tiniest bit of pomegranate syrup I add, and some lemon juice, and that's it. And then I drop the kubas in, and it's done. So hold on one second, let me grab that. Okay, so this makes it taste really good. I do about a tablespoon of that in there, and it tastes great. So all I'm gonna do now is fry up these veggies. Put them on that heat. And garlic is really, 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 really good in here. And since I don't have any chopped up and I'm kind of a little bit pressed for time, I'm gonna use garlic that's already minced. And I'm gonna do about 1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic in there. It smells so good. And these are going to soften as they boil too. They're starting to get somewhat translucent. I'm going to add some pepper because I like pepper. If I can get it open without breaking a nail. A little bit of pepper because I like it. Now I'm going to take my tomato paste. Well, there's no water in there. And I'm going to add it to the pot. Two of them. Otherwise your stew is not going to be thick enough. Just like that. And stir your tomato paste around in there and get the vegetables all like coated in it. Now this is going to take a minute because I just took it out of the fridge, so it probably won't come out real easy. So it's a good idea to take it out a little bit before so that it will come out. Oh, it's actually coming out pretty good. All right, so about 1 tablespoon of it. Good enough. Yeah. Okay. Give it a quick stir. 4 cups of water. Cold water. There we go. Okay, 4 cups. Perfect. That's all you need. Stir in your tomato paste so it's nice and dissolved in the water, and your vegetables are looking really pretty in there. All right, and then I'm just gonna keep it on like a medium high until it starts to simmer and boil. And then once it starts to boil, I'll take out the kubas and I'll drop them in and just let them, don't try to break them apart when you put them in. If they're stuck together, just leave them stuck together and just put them all in the pot. Eventually from boiling, they'll separate and they'll come apart. Don't try to do it with a spoon, you'll break them and then you'll have a big mess. Now here, we're gonna do some citric acid or lemon juice because it makes it sour and we like it sour. If you don't like it sour, don't put it in. I'm gonna put about 1 teaspoon of the lemon juice. That's enough for us, just a little sour. And now I'm just gonna cover it like that. And I'm gonna let it come to a boil and then I'll throw in the kuba and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, the stew is boiling. It's at a good boil. It's smelling amazing. It's thick. You don't want it too thin, but you don't want it too thick. If it seems like it's too thick to you, you can add just a little bit of water at a time. And now I have the kuba that I just made, and I put it in the freezer until I was ready for it. And you can see it's perfect. I'm just gonna drop them in there. And they're gonna cook up really good, and they're gonna be delicious. There we go. And like I said, you're gonna drop them in there. You're gonna leave them for about, like, I don't know, I cook them low and slow. Like, I just like to turn it down and let it have it like a half an hour, but you probably don't even need that long until they kind of are floating around, and that way you know they're cooked. Because they kind of sink to the bottom when you put them in. Just giving them a good stir. Gently, you don't want to break the kuba apart. Like that. And I'm going to turn it down, like medium. And I'm going to give it, like I said, about 20 to 30 minutes. Crack that lid, come back, and it's all done. That's kuba. It's super easy. I hope you try it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll post some pictures at the end. Thanks for watching.